Hello and welcome to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today I'm going to be discussing 3.23. Now, this update is long awaited, and there's just a lot to kind of go over. I've had my hands on it now for the entirety of today. It took a little while to get my access, but just based off of first impressions, I'm going to go ahead and let you know right now, it's going to be a very difficult transition for anyone that has played Star Citizen for more than a few weeks, let alone the people that have played this game for years or even months, and it's going to be quite interesting. I first and foremost want to talk to you about certain changes coming to Star Citizen with 3.23. We haven't got our hands on the hangars yet, so nothing with the hangar modules or anything like that. But I will say that we are having our first taste of like master modes, where it's all about having different modes, SCM or nav mode. And I'm going to tell you, it's difficult to learn right off the bat. It takes a lot to get used to, and honestly, you're going to make the mistake like I have a million times where you jump somewhere and you instantly turn off your quantum drive, wanting to just, focus on moving without that quantum drive on, and then you're stuck going SCM speed, which is like, 220 SCM or whatever your ship is, 100 SCM or whatnot, because you're in SCM mode. So you really have to teach yourself not to touch your quantum drive when you're done jumping. Pick your destination, jump, leave it on. It doesn't have an annoying hum anymore. Once it hits its full charge, that's it. It hits a full charge. There's no annoying, anything about it, kind of like currently in 3.22 where you have it on and there's just really annoying hum. But you just have to teach yourself. It's like a muscle memory to always turn it off and stuff. So it's definitely going to take some time. Master modes is definitely different in that regard. Now, there's definitely a major difference in just overall ammo counts and how much capacitor you have on certain weapons. Like currently, I am in the Gladius. Now, I will say, let me go back here. None of the stuff in this video is going to be from 3.23 because I have an NDA, so I will not be showing you any visuals, no screenshots, no videos, no audio. Okay, so just to put that behind us, now discussing the patches are totally okay. So I want to discuss what I see and everything I basically have gone through with 3.23 so far. And I will say there is a pretty big change to, the capacitors and weapon amount, ammo count. Like currently, I'm in the Gladius, and you have 83 capacitor on your primary lasers, right? Really quick, Let me give me 1 second. I'm going to shelve that really quick. Okay, the Ion. Oh my. The Ares Ion has become, a ship that is just no longer going to be in my arsenal for a while. If the current patch is what the Ion is going to be. I understand where they want to go with it, because it's meant to be for capitals only, like going after big targets. And that's pretty much what they've done to the ship, because it's gone down to a ship that can only have 20 shots in your capacitor, so that's only 20 rounds, and the fire rate has been cut dramatically. So not only are you limited on how much ammo you have in your capacitor on the normal capacitor, you are stuck with a very slow fire rate. So bounty hunting with it is now completely done with me, unless I know the target's going to be in a massive ship like an 890 or a Reclaimer or something big. It's just they've decimated the 3.22 build of the Ion. It felt nice, it felt good, but I understand where they're going because they want certain ships to have certain roles. So I'm not going to hate them for it as much as I love that ship. It's just, it's a ship with a particular role, and what I was using it for and what a lot of people use it for is not that role. Going after, you know, arrows and nomads and corsairs. Well, I mean, I guess a corsair, you could still potentially go after a corsair with it right now, but it's just very difficult. Now going back to like the Gladius, which by the way, they've done a phenomenal job with the Gladius. You know, they're starting to update audio in the game, and it's phenomenal. The Gladius is one of the, I think the first ship, I think the only ship right now. I haven't gotten my hands on too many other ships yet, but the audio is just amazing. Like, you really got to get your hands on it. If you have the ship, definitely check it out once 3.23 hits the waves or live. It feels fantastic. You have 83 capacitor on both Panthers, and then the Mantis, like, this is where I was going to go with this, has 1,067 rounds. So they dramatically increased the amount of ammo that you have on ballistic guns for the smaller guns, and they've dramatically decreased the amount of ammo you have for the bigger guns. So like with the Inferno, it was 900, but then they doubled it. So 1,800 rounds, that's it. It's not meant to, you know, there's going to be a lot of mad people. There's going to be a lot of people upset about both the Inferno and the Mantis getting just decimated. Not the Mantis. Why did I say the Mantis? The Inferno and the Ion getting decimated. And I completely understand. I am a big lover for the Ion, so it is quite tragic. Now, with Master Modes, it's not all bad. I feel like Master Modes came with a completely refreshed UI and feel for the game, and I think it feels great. It's just different. It's very different. Like, it's going to feel alien to anybody that's played this game for even a little while. And it's going to feel very alien. I am having a really hard time with it, but I'm starting to learn everything about it. So it's going to take time. You're going to have to refresh yourself. You're going to have to really relearn how you operate your ship. And that goes for all ships, right? So, like, when you lower your landing gear, you're restricted to a certain speed with your landing gear. So it's no longer like you can just be at whatever speed you want with your landing gear. It actually brings your speed down even more, which I get, I understand. There is a lot of safeguards like that in real life with aircraft and stuff, so it's totally understandable that, you know, you really don't want to pull your landing gear out when you're going really fast. You're going to rip them right off and potentially cause a catastrophic event with your ship. So in the game, obviously you can't do that yet, but they are starting to show the limitations of that. And, you know, it's pretty neat. Now, let's talk about the star map. The star map is amazing. It really is. There is, you know, people, the general consensus is it's really hard to read planetary names and stuff, like outpost names and stuff on the planet, and it is easy, a million times easier to read it on the dark side, right? On the light side of the planet, it's like, what are you even looking at? And that's even right now. It's really difficult to see the name of what you're looking at, so you have to, you know, hopefully they'll change that before live, or you're gonna have to get used to just kind of learning how to adapt and find where you're going. Now, that's not too bad in 3.23 because on the map screen, there is actually a search button now. You can actually search where you're going and find the location a lot easier, and you can type it in. So if you know the name of the location or even just the first few letters of the location, you could bring it up pretty quick and, you know, it'll bring you right to it. Now, there is something with the maps that I find interesting, and I know they're going to potentially change it, maybe. I hope. When you open the map, it always reverts back to like a very close-up view, no matter what the situation is. And I know maybe that's a bug, maybe not. But I suggested that it's just relative to what you're doing. So if you're in a spacecraft and you're in space, it brings the map to that view. If you're in a spacecraft, you're in atmosphere, it brings you up to the view of the planet. If you're on the ground, it brings you to ground level. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So hopefully that's the route they're going. I don't see why they wouldn't. That would just make it so much more fluid and smooth. But otherwise, I think the updated star map is phenomenal. It looks fantastic, and it's just miles above what we have now. Obviously, everything's still very work in progress. So there's a lot of smoothening that needs to happen, and a lot of things that need to be tweaked. So my suggestion when kind of jumping around is not to really route yourself as much as just manually jumping. And what I mean by manually jumping is don't route yourself, but if you can, kind of just enable your jump drive and, point to where you need to go at the markers and jump yourself instead of routing it and hoping that works. Because the routing, it works, but it's fidgety. I feel like maybe I just had a bad server. So it's hit and miss. I'm going to test that again and report back, but I felt like when I was routing, it sometimes just wouldn't do anything, wouldn't route. And that was kind of like, come on, what's going on? This patch is massive. It's massive. Like, this feels like a totally different game, guys. I'm going to tell you right now. If you're a beginner to this game, new, or if you're old to this game and you've been experienced for a while, it's going to feel like a completely new game. From the second you leave your hab. There's so many different things from when you leave your hab, and it feels great. Obviously, there's some new things that cause the FPS to drop just a little bit. I know they're working through it. Right now, I'm on Microtech, and I'm hitting about 45 frames per second, so it's not terrible. It's about my, I feel like I average a little bit higher on the live build, and maybe it's just the servers or whatnot, but yeah. Moving on, let's talk about first-person combat. Wow. So, I was on a server earlier, and the FPS was, about your typical, right, for Star Citizen. It was between 5 and 8, and it felt like a completely different game. Like, my shots were connecting, and it felt smooth. And a 5 to 8 server SPS isn't phenomenal in any regard. It's not 30, it's not 20, it's not, it's not something way up there that you would expect this to be like, right? But it felt so good. From the second of pulling out my weapon and seeing the new optics, and to pulling up the iron sight and pulling the gun up to my face and firing, it felt so like everything just connected. Like I pointed right at a Ninetales in a bunker with my handgun with the S38, and I shot 2 rounds, boom, boom, right into this chest, right below the shoulder blades. Not shoulder blades, but the collarbone or whatever, right near the neck, right into his chest plate. And he just literally, it was like the smoothest action I've seen in Star Citizen in first-person combat in a long time. Or ever, really. It felt so smooth, and his animation was beautiful and perfect, and it was very, very quick, and it felt nice. It felt, I'm telling you, it feels like a completely different game. And then, like, a boss walked around the corner, and I had a sniper rifle, and it was the one that charges, right? Forgot the name of it, but charged it for a second, let loose, and it hit him right in the head. And this guy just, it was like, I don't know. I felt like I was having a heart attack. The experience was just phenomenal, because it was very smooth, and I feel like there is just such an improvement with the first-person shooter side of things. It doesn't feel like it's taking so many shots to actually do something now. And, a lot of these guys weren't massive targets either. They weren't really heavily armored, so taking 2 shots by a handgun right below your neck doesn't seem, ridiculous. It felt natural. It felt like, yeah, I would have downed that guy in real life too, so there it is, and that's what it was, right? So it feels phenomenal. The scopes feel great, the iron sights feel great. Everything just felt very smooth, even with the server FPS not not where it could be with like server meshing and stuff, right? Server meshing and all that's going to come around sooner or later. We don't have that right now, but it's going to make server FPS hopefully stay around that 20 to 30 mark, and it's going to be just beautiful. It's going to be the smoothest experience hopefully we've ever had in Star Citizen. Now, another thing I want to talk about is ship-to-ship combat. Now, don't get me wrong, I am very annoyed with the Ion situation, but I understand it. I know what the class of ship is, and me getting to bounty hunt with it for a long while felt great. It was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Now I'm sad it's over, and I'm sad it's probably not going to ever come back. But the ship-to-ship combat against AI, oh my gosh. That is a scary experience now. I was in my Ion, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this ship a try. Oh my god, I got 20 rounds. Oh my god, this shoots slow as hell. But I went against 2 targets in like a beginning tracker assignment, and it was a cutter and a terrapin. And these guys were putting up a fight. Like, I was embarrassed. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect it. And the server FPS, again, not great. Evo does not just get phenomenal server FPS. It's not like that. It's just like live. You're typically sitting between 3 and 10, somewhere in that range. And these guys were being rated. Like, I was 10 kilometers out, and they were already flying dead on at me and engaging, right? Because master modes, there is no limit to the range of your ammo anymore. I mean, the damage output falls off the further you're shooting a target from, but these guys just came in and started wailing on me. 3-4 kilometers out, they were just going ballistic on me, and I was awestruck. I reacted poorly. I mean, thankfully they didn't destroy me. Took me forever to kill that terrapin with the Ion, because 20 rounds, it goes quick, and the charge is terrible. Even with the slower rate of fire, it still went pretty quick, and it was just like a frustrating experience. But like, these guys were circle strafing me. These guys were, second I was starting to get hits, they would maneuver and kind of try to avoid you, and they would run off and then come back and strafe you. And it was, while the other guy was like flanking you, I felt like I was being cornered by real people. It was a completely different experience, and I'm actually scared for what this could mean when you are facing enemies in much better ships, right? Because this was a cutter and a terrapin. That's not something you expect to go after you and actually decimate you as much as they were. So it was a completely different experience, I'll say that for sure. Now, I do want to look back at the post I made here really quick and see some of the questions. I'm going to try to answer some questions here. How is master modes? Again, it's going to take a lot to get used to for anybody. It feels great so far. The ships feel good. The ammo changes. There's going to be a lot of changes that people are not going to be familiar with. They're not going to be happy about. They're changing a lot of ships. They're changing a lot of people's favorite ships. And it's going to hurt some hearts. It's going to heal some people. It's going to be a mixed review for sure. But it feels a lot more like firefights are going to be a lot more personal. Absolutely more personal, especially with the way that they are actually archetyping every ship, right? So you can no longer like have that Ion go against a Gladius, right? Experienced or non, it's just not going to happen. You can have the most experienced pilot behind the newest Ion, and you are not going to have a good time. That's the change, So that's how Master Modes is currently. Another question is the best ship to use for the new cargo stuff. I don't know yet. The new cargo stuff hasn't hit the build yet. They haven't said anything about it. There was potential that we were going to get to test it last week, but I know that didn't happen. So hopefully we'll see that here in the next few days or next week or something. Even if they do a release to the waves, I know that there's potential they could continue throwing out more updates to Evo for further testing, potentially. So I'm not giving up on it yet. Nobody should. Nobody should expect them to give up on any of the features yet. Let's see what else. What other questions was there? I'm looking through. Let's see here. So we won't be getting item backs in 3.23. Item banks will be coming. They're already everywhere. Item banks are everywhere. Literally in your hab, the second you walk out the door, the second you get through the elevator, near every tram, near everything. Like they are just, they are expecting to have hundreds of people on your server because they have an item bank every 15 feet. Like that's how much they have it out there. So yes, item banks are in. They are not fully operational as of this patch, but they're in. You can operate the screen. So it's just, you know, probably a patch or two away from having its functionality input. Are there any new places on planets in 3.2? Yes, the DCs. The distribution centers, they're out here. They're on the map. They're currently kind of buggy, so they're working on that. So they're there, though. It's not like they just haven't put them in yet. They are there. So there is definitely new places on planets. Is it more stable, even though it's an Evo testing? Honestly, I feel like the FPS has dropped just a little bit. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I messed up a setting or something, because there's some new settings. You got like DLSS and a few other settings available now. And, you know, I feel like there's a couple things that they need to optimize. For some reason, it feels like you get a lower FPS while you're in a cockpit compared to when you're like out in the ground or just walking around. I feel like the FPS doubles once you're out of the cockpit, which is super strange. That never happened in 3.22 or 3.221 or any other build that I know of. Stable, yes, it's getting more and more stable as it goes, really. Like right now, as I'm recording this Tuesday night here, it feels great. Feels really great. Does the game look better and more realistic than it did before? Yeah. Yes, it does, actually. The lighting looks phenomenal. I'm on Microtech right now. The sun's up high, but you could see the God rays. The trees look phenomenal. It's just something... They definitely updated the lighting. Everything looks fantastic. Like I said, it feels like a completely new game. It's, I can't really believe it, honestly. It's like, wow. Bravo to them. They did a phenomenal job. No, never apologize for any questions, guys. Ask away. I'm going to be making more than just this video. I love the idea that I can share this information before it hits the public access. I'm not even going to wait to upload this video. I'm just going to upload it the second I'm done with it. So hopefully you guys will get to watch it, you know, tonight. Let's see. Does performance increase or not? That's another question that was already asked. But again, like I said, it seems like it's hit and miss right now. I think it's just because of all these new features. They're just having to iron out a few details. Now, let's take a look here. There's another question. Want to hear more about how the distribution centers work? Honestly, nobody really knows yet because they're kind of, like I said, they're buggy. So what's happening is you can't get too close. They turn into like a well, a black hole, and it sucks you in and destroys you. So it's kind of like when those new settlements came into the patch in 3.22 or 3.21. They just were really laggy and they sucked you in. They broke you. Well, currently, distribution centers, they're going through their waves, right? So they're going to get better. Nobody's really had too much experience with them yet, from what I could see and what I could tell. I know I haven't. So that'll be once they are more available for that testing. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with distribution centers right now. Let's see. I think that's all the questions. Let me double check. Yeah, I think so. So, with that, hopefully that was quite a few answers so far. There's obviously so much more I can go over, and I definitely want to. There is so much in this. It's just phenomenal. They're doing so much great work, and I can't wait for this to hit the waves. Hopefully, do I feel like it's ready for wave 1? I feel like I could cook a little longer. Just a little longer, a few more days. And I hate to say that because I know, you know, I want everybody to experience this. This is fantastic. But I definitely feel like, you know, a few more days worth of testing and getting a few more optimizations out there and crash fixes and all that would be nice. This interesting FPS drop while in a cockpit would be nice to get rid of as well. But otherwise, yeah, I can't wait for this to hit wave 1 and get more people in here. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any other questions you want answered. I will try to make videos as quickly as I can in regards to 3.23 and any questions that you have. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and hearing me talk. Again, none of the screens you saw currently in this whole video, none of them are 3.23. Those are all 3.22 and 3.21 from all my previous videos. So hopefully you enjoyed that as a background to my discussion here. All right, guys, thank you again, and I will see you in the next one.